And thank you all so much for joining us. We're very happy to have you here for the Multicultural Leadership Award Essay Writing Workshop. We started this last year with our first virtual workshop, and I think it made a huge difference as far as the way the students presented themselves and the way they told their story. So hopefully that will help all of you as you're pursuing this scholarship. So my name is Mary Beth Franken. I am one of the admission counselors for St. Norbert. I work primarily with Milwaukee area students. We have students from all over, and we have a great counseling staff that works with all of our students. So you'll have an assigned counselor no matter where you're from. And I'll let Avery introduce herself as well.
Yes, my name is Avery Garcia. I'm the Assistant Director of Multicultural Student Services. I've been at the college for 5 years, but I am also an alum. I graduated in 2011, and I had this scholarship while I was there in school.
All right, thank you. We had a concern that we're really echoey. Is that better now that Avery is muted?
Just fine for me. This is Bill.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. All right, so we will get started then. So first I'm going to give a note on who Father Ken is. He is one of our Norbertine priests, and he's been very active within the Latinx and Hispanic community in Green Bay. He has been the pastor for a parish called St. Willibrod in downtown Green Bay, which has a very high population of Spanish speakers. So he ministers to the community there, and he also founded a nonprofit organization that supports diversity within the Green Bay area. So he was a perfect namesake for this scholarship because he's really at the heart of what we want this scholarship to be and really what we want our students to be doing and how we want our alumni to live their lives as well. So what is the Multicultural Leadership Award? It's a $4,000 per year scholarship, and we typically give out anywhere from 10 to 15 per year. So it's not like there's only one that we give away. So there's it's competitive, but there's definitely a chance that you'll be offered it. So the Multicultural Leadership Award, we'll continue to refer to it as MLA. It's just a little easier to say, is intended for students who are really committed to celebrating diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism within their communities. Students who have really diverse, unique, interesting backgrounds and things that they can share to help enrich our college community as well. So to keep the scholarship, recipients must participate in at least 2 diversity-focused campus activities. Avery can share more about that specifically because those are all administered through her office, but whether it be assisting us with a recruitment event or with one of the awesome cultural events that Multicultural Student Services plans. So that would be the only expectation for you to be able to keep your scholarship each year in the amount of $4,000 per year. So what do we look for when we're selecting applications or selecting recipients of the scholarship? And I'll go a little bit more in depth in future slides about exactly what we look for and exactly what makes a strong application. But on more of a surface level, we look at your family's education and background. So this is not at all a specific requirement, but we have a lot of students who are first generation college students who receive this award, which means that their parents did not go to college. So this is kind of their first experience with the college search process. Again, not a requirement, but it's something that we see often, not the one and only be all end all as far as making that decision. We also will look at your race, ethnicity, and geographic background or other representations of diversity. Obviously we want to enrich our campus with diversity in all forms. So this is a great way to help with that. We also want to see that you have a demonstrated commitment to community service that has really positively impacted your community, especially as it relates to diversity, and that you have great leadership potential, and that can be shown through a variety of things, especially the things that you've been involved with in your community or in your school. So through your essays that you're going to write for this scholarship application, you're definitely going to want to address some of that stuff within the context of the essays. So just kind of more logistical as far as the timeline goes. The application is open now, and there's a link on the next slide, I believe, that links you directly to the application. It's also linked on our snc.edu webpage. If you go to the admissions link right on the homepage, it'll send you there. So applications are due Monday, January 10th. So you have a little bit of time, but you're probably not going to want to wait until January 9th to start your application. Give yourself a little bit of time so you can really present the best possible application. And then Avery and Bridget, who is the Director of Multicultural Student Services, and I will go through all of the applications and make our decisions by ideally mid to late January, and then we'll let you know either way if you are selected or if you unfortunately are not selected. So you should know by, at the latest, the beginning of February if you are a recipient of the Multicultural Leadership Award. So here are the 2 essay questions. Feel free to snap a picture of this, but again, it's also on the application on the website. So how have your background and experiences influenced your views on diversity? And please provide specific examples where possible. That sentence, I think, is probably the most important sentence in the whole essay question. We want you to be specific, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then the second question is, if offered this award, how would you use the opportunity to continue to support a culture of diversity and inclusion at St. Norbert College? So really our goal with this scholarship is to be able to financially support students who can bring something really interesting to our student body and to our campus community as a whole. So that question really gets at the heart of what specifically would you do given your experiences, given your background, how would you bring that to St. Norbert College if you're offered this specific scholarship? And then you can see the link there, snc.edu/go/MLA. So what makes a strong essay? So Bridget and Avery and I have been reviewing these applications for how long, Avery? Like 7 years. So we've read through a lot of applications and we've seen some really fantastic, amazing essays. And we've seen some that could use a little bit of help and could have maybe put forth more effort. So this is a serious scholarship. $4,000 per year is not small change. So if you want to be considered for that, you're going to want to make sure that you put some effort into writing your essays and into putting together an application, and be honest and specific. The first question, like I said, asks for specific examples, but there's no need to sugarcoat your experiences. There's definitely challenges that are faced often by people of color or first generation college students. So don't be afraid to address those issues. We don't want you to feel like you need to tap things down or, like I said, sugarcoat that in any way. We want you to be real and honest with us, because I think that really is going to get it to the heart of who you are as a person and be able to help us get to know you even better. And then also answer each question as thoroughly as you can. We have seen essays in the past that are only a couple sentences. And quite honestly, when we see those applications, we don't even really read through them. We put them in the deny pile because it shows that you didn't put any effort into your application, that you're not really taking this scholarship opportunity seriously if you're putting just limited information into those essay questions. And then the other piece that's very important is that you make sure that you proofread your essay. I was an English major at St. Norbert, so spelling and grammar are very important to me. We don't expect the writing to be Shakespearean quality because we know that writing isn't necessarily everyone's strong suit, but we want to make sure that you're submitting a polished essay to the best of your ability. So once you write it, definitely give it a read through yourself, but also have a family member or a friend or a teacher or a school counselor or more than one of those people in your life read through it to make sure that everything looks good. And often I think they can give you ideas on ways you might be able to improve your essay as well. So don't feel like it just has to be you. Obviously, it should be your own words. You want to be truthful. You don't want to make up stories, but you still want to provide the most polished version of your essay. So having someone be able to offer you suggestions, I think, is a great thing. So other recommendations and other things that we've seen over the course of the years that are not necessarily great things to do. So like I said earlier, you're going to want to make sure that you have good spelling and good grammar. And a big part of that, because we have seen this many, many times as we've been reviewing this, make sure that you capitalize letters where it's appropriate. This is not a text you're sending to a friend, and it shouldn't be stream of consciousness. You should use punctuation as well. It should come across again as a polished essay that you would present to be graded, because rather than getting a letter grade though, you have the possibility to get a pretty good amount of money to help finance your education. So I think always keep that in the back of your mind when you're writing your essay, that this could have a big financial implication. So you're going to want to do the best that you possibly can. And I know I said this earlier, but write more than just a few sentences. You're going to want to put thought and effort into your essay. The other, I know, big pet peeve that Avery and Bridget and I have had in the past is don't use a dictionary definition of diversity. We have read a lot of essays that have started with Webster's Dictionary defines diversity as blah, blah, blah. We don't want to know that. We know what diversity means in the dictionary. We want to know what your experience with diversity is, what it means to you. If you are of a diverse background, what that experience has been like for you. So we want to know your definition of diversity, not the dictionary definition. And, you know, as an admission counselor, I read through, at least for the students that I'm assigned to, I read through their application essays. And I've read quite a few that really speak to the questions that we ask for the Multicultural Leadership Award. So I think if you addressed something that's relevant to the specific questions that we asked for this particular scholarship application, it's okay to pull that into your Multicultural Leadership Award application and cut and paste or maybe tweak a little bit, because like I said, I've read some that are really relevant, but I only read a small number of our applications each year, and Bridget and Avery don't read any of the admission essays. So it's okay for you to reuse and recycle. You don't need to reinvent the wheel if it's, you know, things that are really relevant to these essays. All right. And now I will turn it over to Avery to go through examples of a really strong essay and then one that maybe needs a little bit of help.
Yes, so a common question that we get is, how long should my essay be? And there's not like a straightforward answer. What I can say is typically we get 3 to 4 paragraphs is what I see in strong essays have. It can be the opposite too, right? If you have 5 pages per question, like that doesn't mean you have a better answer. Like sometimes people can really get across who they are in just 3 paragraphs. And so this is one of the sample essays that we've had. That was a real essay that was submitted to us. And you can see that this person is really giving us a glimpse of who they are and what it was like to grow up in a diverse home, and specifically in a Hispanic home.
I'm just going to interject here real quick, Avery, and just so everybody knows, these are real examples of essays, but these are students that have long graduated. So they're not current students. Yes. And obviously there's no identifying information either for the students that have yes. submitted those essays.
Yes, thank you, Mary Beth. All right, do you want to go ahead to go to the next slide? Okay, so this is an example of, again, what Mary Beth said, a real essay that we received. And as you can see, there's not capitalization where there should be capitalization. It's very brief. And also, it gives an example of diversity, but one that's pretty shallow, pretty surface level, something you might expect, you know, to be presented with in elementary school. But we're hopeful at this point in your life, you have a little bit more depth to your understanding of what diversity is and what it looks like in communities. Does anyone else want to jump in here and say anything that they think could be improved? Okay, that's okay. We can go on.
And I can also send out the slides just so you can read through the essay examples, just in case that sparks any inspiration for you.
So like Mary Beth said, if you receive the scholarship, part of the requirement is that you participate in 2 events a year, including being on a planning committee. So why we want you all to do this is that campus engagement and extracurriculars, clubs, events, planning committees, that's the #1 predictor of student success in higher education. If you just go to classes and go back to your room, the likelihood that you'll struggle is pretty high. So we want you to get involved, and we hope that this scholarship is a doorway to that. We have over 100 student organizations. We have leadership development opportunities, especially for first-year students. And we also have a first generation group called Proud to Be First. I got to work with an alumni who really wanted to do something for first gen students. She came and she talked to me and she's like, hey, Avery, I know you do STAR. That's a program through Multicultural Student Services. I really want something like that for first gen students because I didn't even know what that meant when I got here. And I feel like if I had known what that meant and I had met other people who are first gen as well, that would have really helped me. So Proud to Be First got started about 3.5 years ago now. And it's still going strong, and we're looking at how to build it farther out to create a bigger support structure for students and their families. And this is also an example of there are different events that we do on a regular basis, but you can be like the student who wanted to form Proud to Be First. If you don't see something that you want to see, you can come and say, hey, I'd really like to do this. Like, where do I start? So Multicultural Student Services, as I mentioned, we have the STAR program. It is a retention program for first-year students, and it's designed for multicultural students, but anybody can be involved. And we invite families in the summer during summer orientation to come and meet with Bridget and I, and usually some students that are already on campus, and we talk to you a little about STAR and what it has to offer. If you are interested, you would sign up. I'm sorry about that. You would sign up and then you would move in 4 days early. And during those 4 days, it would be really about getting to know the other students in your cohort and building that strong foundation so that when you start the year, you're already familiar with the campus. You already have somebody to go eat lunch with. You already have students that you're going to know in your classroom. And it's not all run by myself and my supervisor, Bridget Martin. The student mentors run majority of that early arrival program. And then throughout the year, you would have Sunday dinners every Sunday to mimic the kind of family dinner that you might sit down and have when you're at home. Just to check in, see, hi, how are you doing? How are classes? Like, oh, what'd you get on this test? Just to check in with one another. And then we also have weekly meetings that first semester that usually get a little farther in between in second semester. But those meetings address things that might take a little bit more time, like advisement. And again, so you can hear it from a student perspective, because you will get that help from other faculty and staff, but it's very helpful to hear it from another student who's going through it at the same time that you are. We have some affinity groups, Black Student Union. It's now actually the Latina Student Union and Council of Indigenous People.
Avery, do you want to talk a little bit about what some of the events are that that MLA recipients have gotten involved with in the past? What some of the cool things that your office does aside from STAR and Proud to Be First?
Yes, I thought we had another slide, so I apologize about that. We usually start the year off with Hispanic Heritage Month, and fiestas are our big event every year. It's our celebration dinner, usually about 200 people. We have entertainment, we have music, we have a meal. We highlight our students' accomplishments. Then afterwards, there's a dance. And it's just really a time for our students to celebrate their diverse backgrounds and who they are. We have other events through Hispanic Heritage Month. One example is we had an embroidery event this year, and where we learned about traditional embroidery and got to try our hands at it. The other events tend to vary a little bit based on the students' interests, like what they want to do, what they want to bring. And for example, right now we're also working on Native American heritage And the students who are planning it really want to do a beading event around traditional Indigenous beading. And so we're working with a community member from Oneida, hopefully, who will be able to come and lead a beading exploration event where she will talk about the cultural significance of beading in Oneida culture, and then students will get to try it again. And then in the spring, we always have soul food dinner, which again is our big celebration dinner for Black History Month. And then the rest of the events vary depending on the interests of the students. And we also have Asian Pacific Islander events, usually sometime in the spring, but it really varies depending on how the calendar falls, when spring break is. And we've done a huge range of things. One year we brought Tibetan Buddhist monks, and that was a collaboration between ourselves, the art department, and the Peace and Justice Center. And it was fabulous. They stayed for a week and they did a whole series of events, and that was a pretty big deal. And we invited community members as well. So a lot of different opportunities throughout the year. But again, you're free to bring an idea to me. For example, in the past, we had a student, he was, oh goodness, from Slovakia. And he really wanted to do a talk about immigration and like what his experience was like as the son of his parents who were first-gen immigrants. And he was really passionate about it. And so I just supported him as he led the way for that. Another event that we have a couple students who want to help out with is called STEM Girls Rock. It's a newer series. I think we're going to be doing our third one. We invite 7th grade girls from local middle schools, and they come usually for 2 days, but this year, because of COVID, only 1 full day. They do different labs. They meet current college students who are doing STEM, and we're really just trying to get them excited about science and math and technology and the possibility that they could pursue that one day too. So yeah, those are some examples of things that we do out of our office. Did I miss anything big, Mary Beth?
No, I think you got it all. And I think the important point that you made, Avery, is that a lot of the work that you do, certainly you have standard events, but a lot of it is around what the students are looking for. So I think these recipients of the MLA are really able to design their own programs if they want to do that, or jump on board with something else. But it really is, especially given that the applicants already have a passion for diversity, I think that there's a lot that they can bring. So it doesn't necessarily feel like work. It doesn't feel like it's a slog, something you're doing just to keep your scholarship. The scholarship is really just the added bonus that you get to participate in all these really cool programs and, really be a part of the awesome work that Multicultural Student Services does, be able to connect with other students. I think that's really important as well. So great job. Does anyone have any questions, anything you're wondering about as far as what we like to see in applications, what makes a strong application, any other tips or tricks that we can offer? Feel free to use the chat, or if you're feeling brave, which you should be, you can also unmute and ask a question too. Everybody's all good? All right. Well, you can see the contact information for Bridget, who's the Director of Multicultural Student Services, who is unfortunately not able to join us tonight, and then Avery and myself as well. So feel free to reach out to any of us. We are all more than happy to help. And like I said, we're recording this presentation, so we'll be sending it out probably either tomorrow or Monday, so you can rewatch it if you feel like you need to. And I'll also make sure that the slides get sent out to, just so you can have it as you're writing your essay. But just keep in mind the January 10th deadline, and we'll look forward to reviewing your applications.
Yeah, and we'll hang on for a couple minutes if anybody wants to ask questions once majority of people have jumped off. So
yeah. But otherwise, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your night.